welcome to you. Many thanks for finding time to join us on this week's edition of the program. Don't forget to remain your source for all the latest happenings in the world of insurance. My name is Lucy Ulugbe. Welcome. On our lineup this week, first we join Faith and our guest, Ms. Prisca Suarez, the immediate past Secretary General of the African Insurance Organization, AIO, on the CEO rendezvous for their exclusive session where they discussed a wide range of issues that affect not just the AIO, but the insurance sector on the continent. Speaking during the interview, Ms. Suarez stated that most of the unnecessary insurance premium flights from Africa are on foreign direct investment funded projects that African governments signed off unknowingly. Take a listen.
Most of the premiums that are going out unnecessarily are on foreign direct investment funded projects. And what we realized is that unknowingly, sometimes when our governments are signing agreements, they sign off the insurance as well, but they're not aware of it. And so we needed to bring this to the attention of government. But then you couldn't just go and say, we're losing money. We felt we had to be able to quantify it. And that's why when we commissioned PwC to carry out that study, and we found that on the whole, as at 2015, Africa was losing between 6 and 8 billion US dollars annually. Some of it necessary, as I said, but most of it unnecessary.
On this edition also, we'll bring you a rerun of highlights from the 2019 Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry LCCI Insurance Group Consultative Forum that took place here in Lagos under the theme Insurance Today and the Future. The forum, which drew stakeholders from within and outside the insurance industry, provided a platform for serious conversations about insurance operations in Nigeria. Take a listen.
It remains quite paradoxical that the Nigerian insurance industry has continued to underperform in spite of its huge potentials.
Nigeria's insurance industry has hardly grown in real terms in the last 10 years due to major headwinds impacting upon all players, including economic and regulatory uncertainties.
The Commission is enhancing its own technology. I think I mentioned this during the professional forum. And what we want to do is to quickly catch up with the markets so that we can exercise full surveillance on the operations of the market.
What more can I say than to urge you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the lineup. Details in just a moment. Please stay with us.
What takes your anxiety away?
Access to medical care without financial constraint.
Assurance of a cover for my car and I.
Keeping my family protected despite my low income.
Knowing that my goods are secured while in transit.
Not having to worry about the pain and the bills at the same time.
Having my investments secured.
No matter what safety means to you, we provide you with a covering to keep you and all that matters to you safe.
Consolidated Hallmark Insurance PLC. Anxiety away. Value assured.
A very warm welcome to you. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the set of our month. Today we'll be speaking with a very powerful woman, if I must say that, and I'm sure a lot of people within and outside the insurance industry will agree with me on that. I'm speaking with Ms. Priska Suarez, the immediate Secretary General of the African Insurance Organization, AIO. She's our own. She went out there, she did all of us proud, and now she's retired, and we're having this exclusive chat with her to talk about the AIO, her time there, and of course, the entire insurance industry on the continent. Thank you so very much, Ma, for finding time to talk to us on the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Faith, for having me on your program, and thank you for that very gracious introduction.
Okay, let me use this opportunity to also say welcome back home.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back home. It's been a while.
Thank you. Okay, Ma, as I said in the opening, let's start with your tenure as the Secretary General of the African Insurance Organization, and you were the very first woman to hold that position. What was the experience like for you, and what was the major challenge, we would say?
Well, I'd say something that stood me in good stead is that I have always worked in what is a man's world, having spent about 30 years in the industry before going to AIO. That didn't bother me. And then there's also the fact that I do not think of my gender. So for me, it's not there. I'm a human being. I've got a job to do, and I go ahead and do it. But of course, I was conscious of the fact that being the first woman to occupy the position, there's that challenge that, one needed to do a good job so as not to, at least to leave the opportunity for other women, to be able to hold the position. So insofar as gender is concerned, I would say, that was all there was to it. Of course, maybe the times you're working with, people from different parts of the world, and maybe perhaps women, the role of women in some places kind of relegated. But I think one of the major challenges we had at the time I got to AIO was financial. The coffers were, rather low. And then, of course, the AIO had been known for organizing conferences, the annual conference, and then followed by the Reinsurance Forum, and then the live seminar. There was a need for a strategic presence of AIO to be felt in member countries, and also to improve on communication. So we needed to do some other things differently, or in addition to what was being done before. We realized the need for capacity building programs, so we had to embark on, those. We had our strategic action plan, and some of those capacity building programs, were, planned, along for, those, like for the first 5 years.
Okay. Now, in organizing the AIO conferences, seminars, and the Reinsurance Forum, in the course of your tenure, you no doubt interacted with diverse cultures, as you mentioned, and background. But most importantly, how did you navigate the politics, especially when you have a fusion of the English-speaking bloc and the French-speaking on the continent? There's a lot of politics. But I just want to know, how were you able to navigate around that and make sure that everybody feels we are in this together?
Well, organizing those conferences, I can tell you, was one heck of a challenge. In Nigeria, we tend to be, we're always on the move, we do things, we're fast, we seem to be always in a hurry. Other people are not like that. The number of people who just take their time, there are those who feel, oh, there's no problem. And then, of course, like you said, when you're working with, like Francophone countries, they also have their own issues. And then, of course, when you're working with them, a lot of them, I found out that, they actually understand English. They're a lot better than, we are. You find that with us Anglophones, very few of us understand any French. They wouldn't speak to you in English, but I would find out later on that some of them actually did speak English. So I think one advantage I had was the fact that I speak French.
Okay, ma, sorry to go. I've always wanted to ask you that question. Did you learn French before you took the job as the Secretary General of the AIO?
Yes. I actually studied languages in university. I majored in French and German.
Oh.
Yeah, my German is now rusty. And even by the time I started the job at the AIO, my French was iffy, but then that gave me an opportunity. So it was an advantage, so that once I could speak the language, I think that made them welcome me more, and I don't know, somehow I was able to convince them. And I think one just had to put one's foot down, because AIO has its standard when it comes to organizing conferences and things. There's a template or things that need to be done. And so it was a question of always being persistent and following up, and making visits, also paying visits to the location before the event. So I think insofar as that is concerned, I think largely the advantage of that second language, it helped me a great deal. And I think even for those who felt that wanted to take things easy, if I insisted that things had to be done this way, and we might even have a disagreement at the beginning, but then later we got to work smoothly together, at least in most cases, and things went well, I believe.
Okay, now looking at the African insurance landscape, one would have expected the level of development to be more than it is today. Would you say that the objectives of the AIO is being or has been achieved?
Okay, well, let's just briefly, for the benefit of those who do not know the objectives of the AIO, the objectives are twofold. One, to develop a health insurance industry in Africa, and two, to promote inter-African cooperation. And before the AIO was set up in 1972, there was hardly any, we're talking just now about French-speaking bloc and English-speaking bloc. There was hardly, even within the English-speaking bloc, there was hardly any interaction, like say between a company from Southern Africa, maybe insurers in Zambia, and insurers in Ghana, for instance. There wasn't that cooperation. So in 1972, the founders, a few insurance practitioners just felt that maybe it was necessary to come together. And when they did, one of the founders told us when we celebrated 40th anniversary of the organization that they actually they had no idea that it was going to last this long. They just held that conference, they came together. So when you look at inter-African cooperation, you can say that the AIO really has done a lot, because but for the AIO, the French-speaking companies belonging to FANAF would be having their conferences, the Anglophones would have theirs, and you really wouldn't have built that kind of synergy that we have. Now we have cross-border trade. You have companies from West Africa that have gone to establish in other parts of Africa, and even the French-speaking countries are also coming. We have NCA in Nigeria, for instance. So I would say that the AIO has done very well in that regard. The conferences offer a big avenue for networking, and there's also the fact that AIO created like the pools, the reinsurance forum, because that also, now that's a business exchange forum, and before then most African countries or companies were reinsuring abroad, hardly any reinsurance done, among the practitioners on the continent. So to that extent, I would say that the AIO has done very well. But not quite there yet, but a lot has been achieved in that regard. And when you talk about developing a health insurance industry, well, there are issues that are still being discussed everywhere. you know, in that regard, sometimes you begin to wonder what's happening. When you expect things to get better, they're not getting better. But I think that even in that respect, I would say that also a lot has been done, because where there was no regulation in a lot of cases, that has changed. And so I think that, you know, one can still give the AIO a pass mark.
Okay, as a continental body, would you say that African governments have given the AIO the needed recognition and support when it comes to policy decisions that affect insurance business on the continent?
A lot could be done, a lot more could be done, but one must acknowledge the fact that many African governments have been supportive. Most of them recognize the African Insurance Organization, and one must mention the support from the Cameroonian government, for instance, that offered to host the secretariat, you know, and the AIO is given diplomatic status, which, you know, helps in running the affairs of the organization. And you know, our interface with governments are the supervisory authorities, and over time the AIO has seen the need to engage the supervisors. I think it was probably in 2011 that we started. Of course, we had the Association of African Insurance Supervisors before then, but then we started to have these discussions with them, you know, so that members would be able to ventilate some of the issues that are affecting insurance, and so that, you know, at least there could be a dialogue between both the market and the regulators. And I think in some cases, we need to actually let government know of the challenges that we face.
Yeah, when you say we,
as a market, I mean the practitioners, yes. Yes, sometimes when I say we, I don't even know. I still talk about as if I'm in AIO, I'm no longer there, but then I mean now the insurance sector in Africa. There are times, I'll give you one example. The AIO has not been doing advocacy, but it's one of those areas now where the AIO, one of the areas that AIO is going to concentrate on. And there was an issue that came up for discussion around 2015 about flight of insurance premiums from Africa. Okay, fine, you will note that everybody knows that we cannot retain all the premium in Africa. So there are some necessary transfers of premium, but then there are also unnecessary transfers of premium. So AIO commissioned PwC in 2015 to carry out a study, because we realized that the continent was losing a lot of money, and it's still losing. And most of the premiums that are going out unnecessarily are on foreign direct investment funded projects. And what we realized is that unknowingly, sometimes when our governments are signing agreements, they sign off the insurance as well, but they're not aware of it. And so we needed to bring this to the attention of government. But then you couldn't just go and say, we're losing money. We felt we had to be able to quantify it. And that's why when we commissioned PwC to carry out that study, and we found that on the whole, as at 2015, Africa was losing between 6 and 8 billion US dollars annually. Some of it necessary, as I said, but most of it unnecessary. And you know, obviously, it was going to increase. And you know, talking to insurers in different countries, they would tell you, I think I was in Mozambique once, and they were talking about a rail project that was going on, and they didn't know who was insuring it. None of the insurance companies. So we realized that there was this gap. We needed to let government know. And so that study was published, which we circulated to all the supervisory authorities, because they, as I said, they are interfaced with government. But then we knew that we had to take it further. It's something that's going to take quite some time. And the step we were at before I left was to visit the finance ministers of some countries, so that to present this report to them, to make them aware of what was happening. Unfortunately, the pandemic slowed that down. But it's one of those things. Like I said, if we don't, we need to articulate our challenges and make sure that we channel them properly to government. And I believe that the AIO is keen to take that up, and it's a good avenue through which to handle those things to government. So I would say that, if we haven't gotten enough support, perhaps we had not made all the issues known. But then along the way, we have made some things known through our supervisory authorities.
All right, welcome back. Moving on, we now bring you highlights from LCCI 2019 Insurance Group Consultative Forum in Lagos. The LCCI Insurance Group plays a strategic role in advancing possibilities in the insurance sector through stakeholders' engagement. Happy viewing.
The Insurance Group of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry is one of the newly created groups of the Chamber. It was carved out of the Financial Services Group. The membership of the group includes but not limited to underwriters, insurance brokers, loss adjusters, and others. The group recently put together its 2019 Insurance Consultative Forum at the Commerce House, Victoria Island. In attendance were stakeholders within and outside the insurance industry. Welcoming participants to the forum, the chairman of the LCCI Insurance Group, Mr. Guiga Olambiwaninu, said that despite its huge potentials, the insurance industry has continued to underperform.
It remains quite paradoxical that the Nigerian insurance industry has continued to underperform in spite of its huge potentials and windows of opportunities, due to multifarious reasons which I may not want to rehearse here for time. This event, which is motivated by the need to bring together the key stakeholders, including the insurance regulator, the operators, and insuring public, among others, is expected to throw some of the challenges faced by the industry, throw more light on it, as well as chart the strategic roadmap suitable and sustainable growth.
Also, welcoming participants to the forum, the Vice President of the LCCI, Mr. Shuboma Ajumagobia, noted that the Nigerian insurance sector has hardly grown in the last 10 years.
Nigeria's insurance industry has hardly grown in real terms in the last 10 years due to major headwinds impacting upon all players, including economic and regulatory uncertainties, unwillingness and reluctance of our people to purchase insurance policies and pay related premiums. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nigeria has one of the smallest insurance markets in all of Africa. Our insurance penetration of 0.3% is extremely low when compared with our peers in other African countries and the emerging economies of the world.
The lack of growth in real terms in the insurance sector is what is propelling the current rounds of recapitalization and possibly mergers and acquisition at the end of the exercise in 2020. Commissioner for Insurance, Mr. O.S. Thomas, said that the Commission is enhancing its own technology to reduce the cost of regulations and operations.
The Commission is enhancing its own technology. I think I mentioned this during the professional forum. And what we want to do is to quickly catch up with the markets so that we can exercise full surveillance on the operations of the market. And we can reduce also the costs of regulation and the costs of operation. Because I know that some of the filings that they do can be better managed in such a way that it brings about quick analysis and feedback to the operators.
The panel session of the consultative forum touched on a wide range of issues. Chairman of session was Mr. Remy Alo. Panelists were Mr. Tope Smart, Chairman, Nigerian Insurance Association, NIA, Mr. Shola Tinubu, immediate past president of NCRIB, Mrs. Fumi Babington Ashayi of CIIN, and Mrs. Debbie Wendele, consultant on risk management to Lagos State Government. The 2019 LCCI Insurance Group was no doubt a huge success given the high-level deliberations at the event.
That's our program this week. Many thanks for spending your time with us. To keep a date with us, same time, same station next week for a fresh package. In the meantime, feel free as always to connect with us on all our social media platforms. Don't forget to join us on our flagship radio program, Waiting Insurance They Do Safe, every Wednesday by 9:45 a.m. live on Naija FM 102.7. My name is Lucy Ulugbe. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.